Okay, I'm back. Are we just waiting for another person?
Yeah, but she said that she's looking for the link, so yeah, we can get started anyway.
Sure.
How's it going then? So, Hassan, it's been a little while since we last caught up.
Yeah.
Obviously, at the moment, you and your family have got COVID, so I'm sure progress hasn't been a lot. But where are you at now in the course? Have you? I know that you said that you were struggling with the branding side of things, coming up with brand name, logo,
Yeah.
etc., that type of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I figure out most things. Like I through like a couple of friends I've got in contact with, great accountant. Um, I'm actually meeting. I have to meet TD in sometime this week, but
what's
not
that?
even.
Sorry, meeting who? Sorry.
I was gonna meet my bank sometime this week for the whole business bank account thing. They wanted me to come in, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to go this week anymore. But other than that, yeah, everything's going okay. Every now and then I just go through LinkedIn and like just go about like look at the scene and seeing what because I'm essentially gonna go into like JavaScript React developers.
Hmm. What's
So
the rationale behind that?
just this is because it's something I'm in the background on, and I was looking at the job market in in Canada itself,
Hmm.
and it says, well, it said that it was number one, like in terms of like popularity right now. So that I mean, I always wanted to go into tech anyways.
Mm.
So I was looking into is that software developers are in the market are kind of growing. There was also a couple other markets that I was looking into. Um, one of them being business development. I talked to another friend of mine who said that business development right now there's a lot of demand for it,
Hmm.
but he's not sure what the future of it might be. So that's something I want to do a little more research on. But right now, software development was where I was pushing towards because I'm talking to a lot of friends who were in software development,
Hmm.
and they were essentially saying how right now it's not that difficult to get a job in one. I mean, what a lot of he said they were saying the fact that it doesn't require a uni degree, and the fact that there are a lot of his employees are self self-taught or they've gone to boot camps, coding boot camps, and he was saying there's a lot of demand right now, and yeah, so that's why essentially I want to go into that.
Hmm. You're in Canada, yeah.
Yeah,
All
Canada.
right. So just on that, I mean, obviously JavaScript React is something that I've worked on quite a lot.
Mhm.
Um, so no, I definitely know that it's probably the fastest growing technology within software development. So that's what you want to look for.
Mhm.
Um, so if that's what you're going for, then great. With regards to business development, obviously the process that I am teaching you, and I encourage you to follow this, is to just stick with one.
Yeah, I
So
was gonna pick
yeah,
one or other.
with business development, I do know that sales recruitment is a thing. Some
Mhm.
people are successful in it, but in my experience of recruitment,
Mhm.
um, you know, looking at some of the companies that I've worked for in the past, looking at some of my friends who are still in the industries and the companies that they're working for, um, it's like a very much of an afterthought to go into sales recruitment.
I see.
And the reason for that, I guess, is there's a couple of reasons for that. I mean, you mentioned about how software developers don't need to necessarily have a degree; they can go to boot camps, etc. That's all well and good, but what you'll find, and this is a really good principle in terms of recruitment when you're doing it in this way. So when you're focusing on being a specialist, right, a vertical market specialist, what you'll notice is that undoubtedly, if someone has a computer science degree, they're going to be seen in a much better light than somebody who's just
Oh,
gone through a
oh,
boot camp.
oh yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, so the difference between that and sales and business development is, obviously even myself, sales, recruitment, I didn't need a degree to get into recruitment. You don't need a degree. There's no such thing as a bachelor's in sales or sales, business development or recruitment or anything like that, right? So everyone pretty much, it's like with business development, there's no barrier to entry, right? So there is a market at the more kind of senior end, the mid to senior end,
Mhm.
when you're starting to look at specialists. Hey Jen, how you doing? We're just talking about different markets. So with business development, there's no real barrier to entry, right? So anybody who's anyone can get into sales or business development. When you start growing in that role, then yes, you know, people can have specialist nuances. So like someone can be a specialist within SaaS,
Hmm.
SaaS, you know, they're specialist business development consultant for SaaS companies, for an example, right? So
Hmm.
at that level, you know, it can work. But the other reason why I think people tend to move away from or shy away from sales and business development recruitment is because you're dealing with other salespeople, you're dealing with other business development people, and you know that just makes your life that bit more trickier because it's much harder to control someone who knows the game. So, for
Hmm.
example, as you're going through the course, what I'm going to be teaching you is stuff about how to at different stages of the process, different ways of talking to and dealing with your candidates. You're going to be asking certain questions at certain points of that process to get control, right? So, as an example, when you're speaking to the candidate on the first call, you're trying to get all the information about them, right?
Hmm.
Salary, where they've worked for in the past, where they're interviewing, all this. They know the game, they know what you're trying to do, and it just makes your life that slightly bit more harder. And yeah, I just think that that's not a market that I would necessarily encourage people to go into.
I
And
see.
the reason why not a lot of the reason why there is recruitment focused on sales and business development is usually because a business is already established, a recruitment business is already established. They're already feeding in software developers, project managers, product managers, whatever it might be. And then, as a secondary need to the clients that they already have, they do need salespeople, they do need business development people. So it's more just to provide that full turnkey solution from a recruitment business perspective to their clients. But actually, as a consultant, it's a very difficult market to master, to get into, and really nail. So that's why I would kind of stay away from that and focus more on the software developer side, like you said. And
Hmm.
actually, another reason that comes to mind is because when you're searching for candidates, what are you going to search for when it comes to business development, right? Because the CV,
Right, that's true.
the information is a lot more, the same thing can be said in 10 different ways, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Whereas with software development, if you look at a job spec, you can just see React developer, XML, Spring, Hibernate, whatever it might be, for Java, for
Hmm.
Python, for whatever it might be. And then, the full stack. These are just key terms which are known, right? There's no two ways of writing that you're a JavaScript developer, right? There's only one way that you can write that, and that's by putting JavaScript in your CV.
Right.
And so that way you're actually finding people a lot more easy as well. You're minimizing the time on, sifting through CVs. So I would definitely focus on the React developer side.